In the combustible world of rugby union, perception is reality. So we believe those All Blacks are all mean and nasty. That Eddie Jones is always smiling. That Rugby Sevens is not the real deal. Truth is, not everything is that simple. With rugby's burning issues. He can be honest to the point of blunt, yet he still charms the pants off journalists. What is Eddie Jones's media secret? For any coach or manager of any team sport, one of the hardest tasks to master is the post-match press conference. Not long after the game, win or lose, the emotions are high. Say the wrong thing about your club or a player and you have a PR problem. Get angry at some of the dumb or impertinent questions and you have a PR problem. But get the journalists on side and you're made. And in recent years, no one has done better at getting the prickly press on side than England rugby union coach Eddie Jones. Eddie breezed into the position in 2015 with his particular brand of humble, honest, good-natured humour, while also bringing with him a reputation for being as tough as steel behind closed doors. When Eddie stares you down, it's apparently a brain-burning experience. They call it Eddie's stink eye. Although all we'll say about this particularly nasty-looking eye is that you should see the other guy.
I guess I have to ask, what happened to you?
Tough old training camp, mate. I just slipped over and got my head cut at training, but no big deal.
There are some big guys in your squad. I'm not sure you should be mixing with them.
Probably not, probably not.
It was later claimed that Eddie actually slipped over in the bathroom, but no one knows better than he that you don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. A better example of the behind closed doors Eddie being somewhat more ferocious than the sparkling little fellow we see in public is the revelation that when he was coach of Japan, some of the Japanese players thought he was the devil.
Well, every side's different, mate. You can be a devil one day and you can be an angel the next. So we don't know what I'm going to be. We'll find out once we get the squad together. Who were those players anyway? I want to know their names.
That laughter from the media has become almost standard practice at a Jones conference. How does he do it? After the break, Eddie's 6-point plan of media management. Born in Tasmania, Australia, to a Japanese-American mother and an Australian father, Eddie Jones barely reached state level as a hooker before concentrating on his career as a teacher and school principal. But the lure of the game took his analytical mind into coaching at club level in Australia and Japan, before taking over as Australian coach and making the final of the 2003 World Cup, helping South Africa win the 2007 World Cup, dragging Japan into the World Top 10 and beating South Africa, and then righting the sinking England ship with a world record equaling 18 wins in a row. Sure, it's easy to be friends with the press when things are going well, but he's able to show some authority and muscle too, while never losing his humour. So without further ado, let's look at the Eddie Jones 6-point plan for media management. First, you have to be humble. as Eddie was when his Japan team shocked the rugby world with their win over South Africa in the 2015 World Cup. And take particular note of the reference to the psycho shower scene.
It's a pretty humbling experience today, you know. Japan beating South Africa. I had to look at the score at the end of the game to see if it was true or not. You know, we just kept on hanging in there. You know, looked at one stage when South Africa got 7 ahead, they were going to run away with the game, and that would have been the normal scenario. You know, it's like the horror story. The woman goes for a shower at midnight. You know what's going to happen next. 60 minutes, you know, 60 minutes they get seven ahead, and you know what's going to happen.
The minnow Japan beating the giant South Africa was historic, but Eddie wasn't finished. He set some clear goals for the rest of the tournament and couldn't resist taking a shot at an English rugby legend.
We're not done, mate. You know, we've come here to make the quarterfinals. We make the quarterfinals, then I can retire from coaching. Then I can just sit back, enjoy, criticise, be like Clive Woodward. I'll get a job on the television. Sir Clive. That's my dream. Tell Clive my dream is to be like him, so we make the quarterfinals, I can do that.
Japan didn't make the quarterfinals, becoming the first team ever to win 3 matches in their World Cup group and fail to qualify. But do you know who else didn't make it? Yep, England. And Eddie had some upfront advice for them. And just maybe was putting in his own job application.
Every union that's successful, every national team that's successful has a guy that's experienced, has a guy that understands rugby. And unless you have that, then they're non-negotiables, they're not preferred. The non-negotiables are simple. You know, and the unions who falter are the unions who don't follow those non-negotiables, like England. You know, England pick a rookie coach to coach a home team at a World Cup. You know, when you're a home team, the pressure on that coach is enormous. You know, you need a guy that's got experience, you know, has been through the loop, understands how to manage his team in that quite hostile environment, because it is when you're the home team. And it's going to be the same for Japan in 2019.
Sure enough, the English did appoint Eddie to lead them to the 2019 World Cup. And Eddie was asked if he ever imagined that he would one day be coaching England against Australia. His answer was philosophical and inspirational.
Look, I think, you know, one of the things my track record's shown is that the team that I coach, I'm 100% committed to, 100% passionate to. Obviously, you know, when you're playing against your own country, you'll feel something. You know, everyone's normal. But I can guarantee you that when we get to that starting line, I'll be 100% committed to England.
Committed he was, and he got the England team off to a great start, winning the Six Nations and chalking up 18 wins in a row until the inevitable first hiccup and first tough, dumb question on whether his team would be scarred by a defeat.
There's no scar there at all. Again, if you look at You guys know history of rugby. You know what the All Blacks had to go through to win the World Cup in 2011? They went through 8 years. They lost a semi-final against us in 2003, Australia. They lost a quarter-final in 2007. They got to the final in 2011 and they had to have a very kind referee to get them home. You know, that's how hard it is. That's how hard it is to win. So for us to lose a Grand Slam game when we've already got the trophy is hardly a scar. It's a learning experience.
By now, Eddie was realising that the English press was a different beast to most. And when he was questioned about whether he would copy the French tactic of targeting an injured defender, he got a little antsy. But he could still leave them laughing.
I don't know about France, mate. You'd have to ask the French coach. Go and ask the French coach, mate. Yeah, I think that's a really silly question. You know, rugby's a game of 15 players on the field. You know, you run, when we're attacking weak defenders. We're looking for weak defenders. Why would we run at the strongest defenders? So if Martin's there and sorry, what's your name? Nick, and Nick's there, we're not going to run a Martin, are we?
You never saw him play, mate.
You clearly never saw me play it.
Well, maybe. We're going to run at Nick. Or
or this bloke here, maybe we'll run at this bloke here. We're not going to run at their strongest defenders. We always run at their weak defenders. Now, I'm not saying Sexton's a weak defender. Maybe France did. But we're going to be targeting players in the island side because we want to win. And you win a game of rugby by attacking their weak points. And to say that's unfair is just ridiculous, and you shouldn't be asking those questions.
Telling the press what they can and can't ask is a dangerous habit. But if anyone can get away with it, it's Eddie Jones, the master of media management. Rugby favours the ferocious, and there have been some serious wild men over the years. Hulking prop Tendai Mtuawira was called up for duty in the Springbok pack of 2015-16. And friends, you don't earn a nickname like the Beast for mothering people. Being the most ferocious in South Africa's scrum is saying something. England's James Haskell strikes fear into the most stoic defence. Just to prove how tough he is, when called up to replace Billy Vunipola as flanker in the British and Irish Lions tour against the All Blacks in 2017, Haskell had to overcome a cut sustained in training. To do it, I had to have my head stapled before making my Lions debut, he said. But if you really want to talk about ferocity, it's hard to go past the mighty Sebastian Chabal. 6'3" and 113 kilos, with 62 caps for France and an appearance in the 2011 World Cup final, Chabal became so iconic for his wild mane and beard. In his homeland, the French press talked of Chabal mania. If anyone can match Chabal for wild, it's the honey badger. No, not that guy. This guy. Aussie Nick Cummins, who calls himself the honey badger, after the animal with no fear. You get an idea how wild Cummins is when he talks of training regimes dodging aeroplanes.
Oh, I had a couple of runs at the airport up there. It's just the red dirt. She's just a red dirt sort of setup, and when they're coming in, you know about it because they come in pretty quick. So you got to really just dart off to the side before they bloody clean you up.
And as a globe-trekking adrenaline junkie, the way he describes his trip to Lapland in northern Finland.
It's minus 33. You're dressed up like a pet lizard, and you're doing your best for a couple of weeks in tough conditions.
But he still takes managing his body seriously.
But it's got to be body ready, mate, because you're running out there under strength. You'll blow a gasket, or you'll twing a hamburglar, and that's the last thing you need.
And above all,
be your best. I suppose challenge yourself and come home with the chocolates.
Up next, is Rugby Sevens the real deal? And are the All Blacks just a bunch of softies? The purists who love the game of rugby union are adamant that the traditional 15-a-side format is more than twice as good as that 7-a-side upstart known as Rugby Sevens. 7-a-side? Child's play, they say. Not as tense. Not as tactical. Not as tough. About as genuine as a $7 bill. But here's the thing those fuddy-duddy purists might want to consider. Rugby Sevens with half the players is twice as fast, twice as exciting, twice as 21st century. And those $7 bills? They are real. Legal currency in Fiji, where an exuberant nation paid a tribute to the sport and the athletes who delivered its first ever Olympic gold medal. $7 for 7 players. It's pretty fashionable to knock the Rio Olympics for its legacy, but one thing it did leave was the enthusiasm for the shortened form of rugby. The Fijians captivated the world with the joy of the tiny island nation's first ever gold medal in any sport after 60 years of Olympic participation.
I can just imagine what's happening in Fiji right now. I think the whole country is having a holiday. We are partying for a week at least.
No, or till the 2020 Olympics.
So too did the Australian women's gold medal team. Many of them relative newcomers to the sport, inspire thousands of young girls around the world to take up rugby in the hope of fast-tracking a place in the Olympic villages of 2020 and 2024. The cut-down version of rugby is a more basic, easier to understand game than the 15-a-side. Much more open, quick and high-scoring. Scrums involve just 3 players, not 8. All conversion attempts must be drop-kicked without the option of a place kick and must be taken within 30 seconds. The emphasis on running puts such a strain on fitness that matches are being cut to a fraction of the time. Halves are 7 minutes instead of 40, although the Olympic final match was extended to 10-minute halves. And there is one other big difference between the short form and the real stuff. It's those haka hoons in the All Black. Sure, New Zealand is highly rated. But in the Sevens game, it's the Fijians with their own dance that are #1. That has to be good for a bit of variety. They're the most dominant team in history, who inspire their whole nation. But are the All Blacks actually big softies? Understatement of the decade. New Zealanders love their rugby. And at the highest level, the mighty All Blacks reign supreme. That's not just in terms of their sport either. In the team's 125-year history, it has won more than 3/4 of matches it's played, surpassing any other national sport team. No matter how many times history repeats, for the fans, it never gets old.
Mate, over the moon!
The winner of the World Rugby Team of the Year award is New Zealand.
When the All Blacks took out Team of the Year at the 2016 World Rugby Awards, Captain Kieran Reid's attitude showed how easy the campaign had been, only dropping a single match to Ireland that year.
From our point of view, it was a fun year. For me, it was, just the guys really expressed themselves, I think.
Sure, Ireland were the only team to beat them that year, the first time it had done so. And sure, it broke their record 18 straight victories. But the average 26-point margin by which they'd beaten their foes was formidable. Eddie Jones led the English to equal the All Blacks' record 18 straight wins in the 2017 Six Nations tournament. But everyone knows it wasn't legit because they didn't play the All Blacks on the way. Many feel the Kiwi edge comes from a fierce warrior heritage, expressed through their world-famous haka, designed to strike fear into the hearts of their opponents. But we're going to throw up a dangerous question. Do the All Blacks in fact have such success because they're a bunch of softies at heart? We're aware that that's courting peril, but bear with us. On the field, the great long-serving captain Richie McCaw, or the late Jonah Lomu, or the mighty modern Sonny Bill Williams surely never seemed like softies. Nor do the next generation's warriors like Julian Sevilla, aka The Bus. But for all their aggression on the pitch, there's a calm and humility to All Blacks players that might be feeding the nation's success. This was seen in McCaw after the 2015 World Cup win.
When I woke up this morning, it was, just a real warm sense of satisfaction. And, it wasn't a lot of real jumping around with huge emotion or anything. It was just, we'd got the job done.
They have every right to brag, but those Kiwi lads are made of different stuff. The great Jonah Lomu weighed 120 kilos in his playing days, but could still run 100 metres in 10.8 seconds. Now that's a fierce opponent. Yet when he passed away in 2015, journalist John Campbell noted none of that prowess went to his head.
If he'd been, for example, a British footballer or an Italian footballer who was as good at football as he was at rugby, he would have had 73 Maseratis, a private jet, a security entourage. He would have lived in, you know, some $20 million villa in Italy or whatever. But the fact of the matter is he never, ever lost the common touch.
The haka had particularly spine-tingling effect during Lomu's memorial too. Further evidence that there's less scare and more care going on in the All Black camp is a fantastic policy of no allowed, weeding out players who lack respect. No matter how successful the players become, they're also expected to clean up their own gear and keep communal areas tidy at all times. On top of that, New Zealand has the best youth development system in the world, encouraging rather than pushing youngsters to play the game with pride and passion. So much so that following the 2015 World Cup win, Sonny Bill Williams gave his medal to a kid who got through the tape to meet his hero. Why did he do it?
He's a little Kiwi fella, he had his All Blacks jersey on, so you know, we might see him in the future. Nimble feet getting around the security guards, eh?
The security guards eventually caught the kid too, and Sonny had a message.
He got smoked by one of the security guards, so it kind of felt really sorry for him, you know. That was your younger brother or younger cousin, would probably give the security guard a hiding or something, you know.
Sonny Bill moonlights as a heavyweight boxer, by the way. You know what? That's a perfect example of why All Blacks are anything but softies. More that the culture of encouragement and pride comes from the right place. Fierce and strong, and it's no wonder they breed a nation of champions. Still to come, the Irish strong arm, who has it all worked out. Rugby players are renowned for having a bit more between the ears than some other codes. Ironic when those ears often look so rough. And few are as switched on as Ireland's strong arm, Jamie Heaslip. He's had a stunning career, playing for Leinster in the Celtic League, a Six Nations champion, Ireland captain, twice a British and Irish Lion. With chops to back it up, awarded Try of the Year in 2016 thanks to a brilliant effort against Italy. But he's also famous for having interests beyond rugby, with a nose for business investment, all in preparation for what he calls the afterlife in retirement. And it's got us thinking, is Heaslip's attitude towards the afterlife the perfect model? Heaslip has never been afraid to back himself. His investments include buying a pub with teammates Rob and David Carney and Sean O'Brien in the Dublin suburb of Ballsbridge in 2014. He's also invested in Urban Volt, a lighting company, and Cocoa 5 coconut drinks, among other things. The afterlife came knocking when Ireland played Wales in the 2017 Six Nations tournament, bringing up 100 international caps for the big number 8, which was something he couldn't believe.
You know, you hit 50, you're an established international, so that was always the goal. And after that, I've just been very, very lucky.
In a twist of crappy irony after the match, Heaslip suffered one of the very few injuries of his career in training and needed back surgery. To suffer your first major injury at 33, the luck of the Irish surely played a part. Stupidly, Heaslip has taken heat for having fingers in multiple pies. Folk questioning his commitment to the game at times. The fact he's known for rocking up to matches in headphones looking zoned out adds fuel. But he's always been an interesting blend of eccentricity and leadership qualities that have lumped him with great responsibility. Although meeting with the Royals during the 2015 World Cup, Prince Harry relaxed the formality, looking rougher than the rugby players in that beard. Heaslip is simply one of those lucky sods capable of success in anything he tries. And he proves preparing for the afterlife is smart, a model other athletes would be wise to consider.